This is the Howard Dare Channel. Howard Dare Channel.
Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So here we are again. I had mentioned that I might be coming on again later on, in the evening, earlier today. And here I am. And we're here for He Who Dares Wins. Because here's the thing. If you want to have a special kind of life, if you want to have extraordinary things in your life, then you're going to have to do some extraordinary things. That's all there is to it, okay? And the expectation that people have, like I can see this from a lot of young guys, that they should have some sort of a impressive, glorious life, like they're comparing themselves to Donald Trump. And it's like, okay, that's fine, but you're going to have to do the work first, and you might not make it. Most people won't. So it's a very important message, there's other things that come into it. I've got some new music here. Let me turn on the chat, turn on a couple of things, make sure everything is working. How's it going? Thanks for stopping by, everybody. And I'm just looking for the chat. There it is. Oh, it's not working. It's broken. What the hell? Hello? Can you hear me? Damn, there's nobody here. Well, I'm not surprised, right? Because I've only got 54,000 subscribers. So if I go live, how many people are they going to send out a notification to? 5 or 6, right? Seriously, 10, 20? But if someone else goes live and they've only got like 5 or 10,000 subscribers, how many notifications are they going to send out? They're going to send out 1,000 of them. So, in case you're wondering, that's what's going on. I hate to confirm it for you guys, but there are forces working against us. I know this is hard to believe. Hey, Food and Water Music, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for the super chat. Are my volume levels okay? Are the sound levels okay? Because, I'm messing with everything. And the previous podcasts, they weren't. They were way too low. Everything was way too low. Food and Water Music, I checked out your channel. That's some really nice music you have over there. I'd like to use some of it as an opening for some of my videos, and not for my live stuff, but for some actual videos. They get a lot more views sometimes, right? It's amazing. Yeah, unfortunately, this type of content, it's kind of been relegated to like a non-supported zone. So they don't even bother to send it out to my subscribers. It's really quite sad. But different type of MGTOW content, like if I was promoting, female sexuality, YouTube would be like, wow, this is great, man. We'll promote this. If I was promoting the fascination and worship of the female form, YouTube would promote this. If I was promoting hatred of men and contempt for masculine values, YouTube would promote this. Understand, it's not the explicit topic that we're talking about that decides the tone and, how YouTube treats content. It is it's the implicit intent of the content. I mean, sometimes you actually want controlled opposition. Like a news program that's really propaganda, they bring two people on and they pretend that, one person is representing their point of view and then another person is representing the other point of view. But the person representing the other point of view is really representing their point of view. And he's a buffoon, or he's a fool, or his argument is completely flawed. So, and it doesn't even have to be intentional. Like, you could pick a really accomplished person that's currently working in the government, or in journalism for your side of the argument. And then you could pick some forgotten hack that hasn't worked in 3 or 4 years, but was popular once, to represent the other argument that you're opposed to. and you can just act like that person's an idiot. You know what I mean? So no matter what the substance of the argument is, the person with your argument, the propaganda, the state argument, they're neat, they're sharp, they're in focus, they're on cue, their colors are right, their makeup is right. The other person, the camera angles are wrong, the lighting is wrong, their timing is off. So it's the implicit message, not the explicit message. So you can have two channels that both claim that they're MGTOW, okay? And one of them can be selling you sex dolls and, charging you to talk. And the other one can be talking to you about masculine male virtue. Okay? They're both saying that they're MGTOW, but they're talking about different things. So, what kind of channel are they? What kind of a message is it? I loved Tokyo Rose, right, from World War II, who would broadcast, the music to the boys in the Pacific and would encourage them to quit, to just give up. It's like, the war is over. You're going to die. Let's listen to some nice music, right? Tokyo Rose. And since it was the only thing broadcasting, it's what the Americans were listening to. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you could have something that's pretending to entertain you that's in fact selling you exactly, what the enemy wants you to have. And it's pretty common. It's not as rare as you think. And it's really fascinating the way we human beings will look the other way. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, if you can advertise it with a pretty girl in the advertisement, it's going to get a lot more attention. But I was checking out some of your music, Food and Water, and as I said, I'd like to use some of it, provided, that, you're okay with it. Maybe just, to introduce a video, like the first 30 seconds or something like that. Because I don't really know how to use music in a video, right? I've got some idea that we can use it in the opening, right? And do some sort of like video, and some quick cuts and things like that, and introduce the video and then fade the music out. So that's about all I have in mind. But yeah, that was pretty cool. All the music you've got over there. So everybody check out Food and Water Music his channel, and check out the music and leave him, your opinion. And I think he said that, we can use it. And if it's his music, he can give that permission. And, unless a person is famous, right, and their music is making money commercially, yeah, I think they should let people use it, as long as they're giving, the source where it's from and who it is. Absolutely. In this day and age. But if you have commercial content that's already making money, that's already contracted, then yeah, you're probably going to protect it, and you're not going to let anybody else use it. Very interesting. Right. This is why I was talking about Greta Van Fleet and their entire song being used in AMC's Preacher final episode, season finale. Like it's good for both of them, like it shouldn't even be like a huge copyright issue. It should be like, yeah, this would actually be really helpful to us and get us like some great exposure, so by all means use the whole thing, and, we won't charge you much at all. That's how I see it, especially in this day and age. Look, the old media, and this is, a lot of what's going on right here, right now, they're dying and they're losing relevancy, and they're playing pretty much every dirty trick in the book that they can play, right? So imagine if you were like a political action group and you were an advocate for hunting, okay, for, hunting game, for people being allowed to hunt on national, lands. And you were moderately successful getting your message out, and you got by on donations and things like that. So, you could keep going. But then let's say PETA comes to you, the protection of animal, agents, whatever. I think you guys know who they are, and says, we want you to run commercials for PETA on, in all of your content, right? and you're like, but we're completely opposite ideologically. One of us is for free hunting of animals, and the other one is for respecting animal rights above human rights. It's like save the spotted owl. It's like, well, what about the people? It's like, well, spotted owl is more important. No, they're not, So, and then PETA says, but, we'll give you $1 million. If you run our ads on your content, we'll give you $1 million a month. So this, hunting advocacy group is like, oh, okay, I guess we'll do that, And it's like, but can we still put out our message that we're in favor of hunting? And PETA is like, yeah, sure, we don't care. Nobody's going to be listening to that anyway. You know what I mean? At the end of your content, they're going to remember that there was, a 15-second ad from us that was in complete contrast to you and to your message. And that's what they're going to believe, because we're much better at it than you are. So, interesting, right? So now you've got PETA promoting a political advocacy group in favor of open free-range hunting. Politics makes strange bedfellows. It really does. So you've got this attempt to tear down the masculine values, the virtues, the principles that built Western civilization. You see that, right? And it does this by empowering the women and by empowering a welfare class and destroying the strength, the virtues, the principles of the existing male class within the society. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening in Europe. That's what's happening in Germany. That's what's happening in Sweden. That's what's happening in the UK. That's what's happening in America. And it's perpetuated by a female emotional mindset and interpretation of the world, a consumer mindset, people who want free government resources, okay? Capitalism is a great thing, if you're a strong, capable person who's willing to go out there, and learn what you need to learn and do what you need to do. Most people, they don't want to do that. Women don't want to do that. Weak, stupid people don't want to do that. People who have been hurt and knocked down and are feeling sick, they don't like to do that. People, the average person, they don't like to do it. They don't like to lose. It almost requires losing a few times to appreciate the whole situation. So that's the environment that you're in. You're not in the environment that your father was in. Not at all. Nowhere near it. The women are loyal to the state, to the media, to the group, to the political party, not to their individual men. They're not even loyal to their individual families. They're loyal to themselves. They're loyal to the state. They don't even bother to take care of their physical well-being anymore because they know that they don't need the men. Were any of you here for the other night for watching Feminist Fight Club, right? Do you see the condition that, the women are in? Here, take a look. 3, 2, 1, go!
Before the fight, I often think about things like Theresa May closing women's refuges, or I think about the man that catcalled me on the street.
This is what women look like today, guys. What do you think this means? It means that they have great contempt and resentment for men, that they think nothing of men, that they don't want any of the man's resources, that they don't want any of his compliments, that they don't want any of his protection, that they don't want any of his money. So this is the environment that you're in. Your father was in an environment where, men and women were equal. Man could talk to a woman. He could even, possibly, pursue her. And she would, either accept or politely decline. In this day and age, holy shit. She's spitting on you from a block away. She's spitting on the idea of you, right? So this idea that, the man can really just go his own way, sure, but not without being spit on. That's the truth of it. Yes, you can and you should go your own way. You should find your own way. You should go your own way because it's a crooked system and they don't respect you as a man. And they look like this.
My name is Phoebe Patey.
So, what would a man have to look like to be the equivalent of what these women look like? Well, he would certainly have to be more overweight than they are, and they're really seriously overweight. Okay? He would certainly have to be less color coordinated than these people are with their blue hair and their face piercings. So what does the man have to look like to achieve, the equivalent of this feminist defiance? How about like Mad Max, right? He would have to look like, the people, that hang around in the background in the Mad Max movies. And I don't mean the most recent one, I mean the earlier ones. Even that doesn't really qualify, does it? So this is how much, she thinks about men. The point is that I'm making is that if you go along with this system, there's really no place in it for you to have a good life as a man. There really isn't. So what are you going to do? I'm suggesting that you find your own way and that you go your own way. I'm suggesting that if you don't do that, that I don't even see how you can have a decent life. If you go down the road that these red pill coaches and life coaches have for you, if you become the female consumer, if you betray your masculine values, you will be lucky to get together with one of those women. They'll be like, oh, baby, I love you. I would do anything for you. And the truth is, yeah, you would, and you will. And you're going to give up everything for a fat, purple-haired, hateful, contemptuous, feminist rhinoceri, a bitch. And she's going to destroy your life. She's going to take away your children. She's going to falsely accuse you. You're going to be on the hook paying for her for the rest of your life so that she can sleep with a bunch of other men and mock you and belittle you. Congratulations. Good move. All you did was the same thing that all the other men did, that 80% of all the other men did. And you didn't even have to think about it. It was all pretty much mapped out for you right from the start. Get you into debt nice and early. Get you out of shape nice and early. Get you to sacrifice your dreams, your ambitions, your goals. Get you to compromise your virtues so that you can get ahead, so that you can get what you want. That's it. Once you're on that path, once you're on that course, it's going to be real hard. This is why you have to dare to go your own way. Look, something is wrong. I really am talking to the younger guys out there that are experiencing really hard times, getting through school, holding on to a job, interacting with women without being falsely accused, being treated like a criminal. And I'm wanting to turn their life in a direction that over the course of the next 5 or 10 years, they'll have a chance at building up a good life, of building up some resources, building up some capital, building up some social status and some strength and some physical strength, rather than pursuing trivialities like going to the movies, like buying dolls, like being a consumer, like having a female mindset. By actually seeking out masculine virtue and understanding what it is and protecting it. But you're in a world that's going to tell you that the most important thing for you to do is to get together with a woman. Even the other men around you are going to be like, what, are you gay? Come on. Don't you like women? And then they're going to be like, yeah, so you should buy this doll. You know, don't you like women? Don't you just love them? MGTOW. It's not MGTOW. It's the worshiping of the female form. And if you do that, no woman can respect you. Honestly, if you do that, no woman can respect you. No dog can respect you. Any dog will walk up to you, smell you, and use your leg as a fire hydrant. And rightly so. What, you're like a big man? You're like the president of the United States? Good. Good for you. Congratulations. I knew you had it in you. And now some pretty girl is smiling at you and saying, come on, come on. How are you going to say no? Are you gay? So there you are, the president of the United States, and now you're compromised as well. And you're hearing this story. Most of the men are hearing this story and saying, yeah, well, you know, that's what I would do too. And I know, because I felt that way too. But there is something, you know, to being a man and by actually maintaining your virtue as a man. It means something, but not in this day and age. So I know that you're in a world that pretends like the most valuable thing you have is garbage, and that the garbage that they're offering you is the most valuable thing in the world. And I know that if you take it, that you will become sick and weak and emotional and womanish, and you'll lose your health. Probably at about your early 30s. Because up until that point, you know, you're pretty much going on what nature gave you. Right? So, like, if you come across somebody and they're in their early 30s and they're in really good shape, it's like, well, that's good. Congratulations. You know, if they're in their early 20s and they're in good shape, it's like, well, that's great. Congratulations. Keep it up. Okay? But that's not the same thing as somebody who's 45 that's in great shape. Okay? Because the person who's 20, they can't teach you anything. They don't know anything. The reason why they're in great shape is because they're young. But the person who's 45, the reason why they're in great shape is because they know what they're doing. So it's like the difference between looking at somebody who's on their way to war and somebody coming back from war. 100 people march off to war, but only 5 or 10 of them come back. You don't need the advice of the people marching off to war. You need the advice from the people marching back from the war. You know, my father told me the story at the end of World War II. You know, the Germans were beat. Their supply lines were cut. They had, nothing. It was just a matter of time. And there was no reason to rush it, and the veterans were there. They had been there for, the whole time. But there were still new young guys coming in. And they were like, let's go get them. Let's raid their position. Let's charge their position. And it's like, no, let's just hang back with our big guns where we can, shell them and they can't shell us. And if you move past that point on that bridge over there, you will be within the range of their guns and they will shoot you. And the young, new recruits were like, you guys are cowards. I'm going to go get some Germans. And the veterans were like, hey, we warned you. We tried to tell you. And the kids ran forward and sure enough, they get shot. I might have seen that in a movie too. But my father definitely told me about that. He was a World War II vet. fascinating, the things that men can do and still make it through and be okay with it. One of the most important things with not being seriously damaged from war is the difference between being drafted and, joining up. And they find that the people who are drafted that experience really terrible things, and most people do, it's more traumatic for them because, they didn't choose to be there. It was against their will. They were drafted. So I would imagine that they feel like, wow, I never really wanted to see that kind of stuff in my life. I have, and, damn you for drafting me. But if they chose to go there, they still say, damn, I really didn't want to see any of that. I could have done without seeing any of that in my whole life. But I did choose it. You know what I mean? I did make this choice. So could be worse. And I think that this is a helpful attitude and mindset. Like if you're in a marriage and you're like, this is horrible, I'm going through hell, but I chose this. You know what I mean? And I knew that these kind of problems were along, were part of the journey. So it's like, well, okay, then I'm just going to have to grin and bear it and, and do as best as I can with it. But if you were really stupid and really young and you weren't thinking about it and you were drunk and you just did what everybody else did, okay? And then you find yourself in that situation. You're like, God damn, this is horrible. This is driving me insane. This is going to break me. I'm going to have a nervous breakdown, because I didn't choose this and it's getting worse and I don't know what to do. So the reason why this is important is that this applies towards all the things that you do in life. This applies towards your job. This applies towards how you feel about your day as you're moving through your day, right? So if you've got a hard life and you're like, I never chose to be here. Why did my parents have me? Well, every experience that you have is going to be like this horrible, burdensome experience that others are putting upon you. But if you're like, you know what? On some level, I chose to be here. I chose to be alive. I chose to, be here. I could choose differently at any given moment, but I don't. Therefore, whatever comes my way, it's not as bad as I thought it was. It's going to pass. It's not going to last forever, right? It's just a much better attitude. It's just a much healthier attitude, right? But the men are in such a terrible state that they're just suffering, just trying to get by paycheck to paycheck. It's messed up. All right, that's a really stupid name. Alex Jones, Wafulla's best, Wafu. Not sure what you're trying to say there. Super male virility. I guess you think you're making fun of Alex Jones. I think you're like implying that he's an asshole and that he's an idiot, but I think that you're the one who's acting, like a fool. Hey, Howard Dare, how you doing? Doing good, Austin. Thanks for asking. It's Friday night. I'm glad that we made it. I'm glad that you all made it. Glad that you all made it to Friday because, we don't always make it. New thumbnail. Yes, I believe in the new thumbnails. Just checking out the chat a little bit. Let me see how we're doing. Do me a favor. Go ahead and hit the like button. Wow, why is there only 35 people watching? That's pretty depressing for me. Let's see. Maybe someone else is doing a live stream and they're like, maybe they've got like 5,000 subscribers. No. Huh. It's just me and MGTOW values, and yet I've only got 31 people watching. Have I lost people? Well, this is very depressing. Thank you for the support, though. I mean, to the few of you that are here, I appreciate it. I'm glad you're around. I'm glad you made it to Friday. Excuse me. I hope you checked out, some of my earlier podcasts where I, had various suggestions for you and ideas for you. Is the audio okay? Is there something wrong with my audio? Okay, well, we're steadily climbing. We had a small decline, but we're steadily climbing. So I guess that YouTube is not sending out notifications. More super chats coming through from Food and Water Music, who's been showing some serious support to the Howard Dare channel lately. I think you guys will like the music over there that he has. It sounds like it's all original, but it sounds like, or from what I could gather, it seems like it's, like a lot of sequenced and a lot of, clips and things like that, but it's beautifully arranged. It's like you can tell that the person arranging it has got some musical knowledge and is trying out some new ideas and stuff like that. So it's also got an anime flavor to it. It kind of like sounds like the soundtrack to an anime, like the music that might be playing in the background, nice Japanese anime. So very interesting music. And with a little encouragement, I'm sure that he would probably start producing a lot more of it too. It's a two-way street. We need support. You know what I mean? Like, you have to support the content creators that you like. You can't be a freeloader. You can be, but it's not really the smart way to go. You're missing, a little critical point. I support the other MGTOW channels that I think are worthy MGTOW channels. Like I support Chris Cantu's channel. I support Darius's channel, because I feel that they're reaching out to men directly and trying to offer a message of hope, and a truthful message. But I don't support Redpill pickup channels. That's retarded. Those guys don't need anybody's support. Those guys are crooks. I don't support the, big commercial channels that are sponsored and shit like that. They're being given thousands of dollars a month to promote products that have nothing to do with MGTOW. I don't promote people who promote Japanese anime, hentai stuff, games and things like that. That's not MGTOW. You can do it. I'm not saying that, that's not MGTOW. Of course you can do it. You can do whatever you enjoy, and play around and things like that. But it's actually contrary to the message that MGTOW is about. MGTOW is about male independence, male strength, male virtue. If you're going to be interacting with women, then you do it on your terms, where they're coming to you. This is the strength of MGTOW. The men have been damaged by a gynocentric world that worships the women. Okay? The democracies have given the power over to the women. So the women are now voting for free stuff, and they're voting for rules and regulations, to curtail and to hurt the men and to hold the boys back. It's real. It's happening. You send your little boy and your little girl off to school. After 6 months, your little girl comes back and says, I'm doing great. I love it here. This is great. This is wonderful. Your little boy comes back and says, they put me on drugs, Dad. I don't dream anymore, Dad. I sit in the corner and I drool on myself, Dad. And it's like, well, you want to go out and throw a ball, son? And it's like, no, I can't, Dad. I don't know how to do that anymore. Thanks for looking out for me, Dad. So it's like, screw you, go to hell. And it's like, and you want to pretend that you're MGTOW when you're selling people a message of worshiping women and the boys are being destroyed in real time right before our eyes? You go, you look, you see how the boys look compared to the girls. The boys are sickly. They're malnourished. They're not taken care of. They're stupid. They've got buck teeth. Girls look fine. They look like they're being taken care of. They look like people are paying attention to them and feeding them and nourishing their hobbies. The boys don't look like that. Go out to the parks and see the teams of all the little girl baseball teams. You'll see dozens of them. They can't play worth a shit. You won't see boys' teams. And if you do, it'll be like a small group of Christians over in one little corner. What the hell do you think is going on? And when you turn on the television, you've got the media projecting a message that is completely anti-male, that is completely anti-family, that is completely anti-art, It's completely anti-moral. It destroys the ethics. It actually embraces the message of feminism. And the women destroy the democracy. So they vote for all the, the free resources for them and for the people that are needy. And they don't give a damn about the men who have to pay for it. And they don't give a damn about the local population that gets destroyed and their future and their infrastructure gets sold out from under them. All the while, the media and your own women are like, preaching against you and talking about toxic masculinity. That's where you are. That's your world. Enjoy the movie. Right, because it's a movie about a 5'2" girl who's 90 pounds that has purple hair that's as fat as a house that can beat the shit out of healthy 6.5 foot men and spit on them. Enjoy the movie. And don't forget to bring your son along too, right? Where they take Superman and they just beat the shit out of him until he's dead. But it's okay because a woman's going to rescue him. Enjoy the movie. I hope you understand what's going on. I hope you understand that, if you direct your attention to where they want you to direct your attention, you're going to get screwed up, man. You are going to get screwed. But it's okay, because a pretty woman will rescue you. Right there, that'll be your fantasy. That's the fucking fantasy of the movies, right? Somehow the young girl will save us. Like, what the fuck? I mean, it's so inappropriate, and like you can tell, like when the old women are standing up and they're acting like they should be leaders. And it's like, but why? Why should you be a leader? You're not strong. You're not smart. You're not accomplished. You're not fearless. You're weak. You're slow. You're emotional. You're not effective. And yet they want to be president. They want to run the show. They want to stop everything. They want to stop the world and, start questioning. What the hell's going on here? Why don't I have more ice cream? Why aren't you more respectful towards women's rights? Why is that little boy not sitting still like a little girl? And what are you going to do about it? That's the world that you're in. So if you don't take some chances, if you don't step out of, your expected role, it's not going to end up well. It's really not. And this is the message of MGTOW. This is why it's not okay to divert it and to twist it. The men and the boys are suffering. The conditions are deplorable. They're unacceptable. Democracy itself is being ripped to pieces because more than 50% of the people voting, that would be women and people who are dependents, are actually continuing to vote for free stuff for themselves until eventually, they will shut down the entire means of production. They're kicking they're kicking the men out of the means of production. That's why you're going to lose your job. So go ahead, don't listen to me, but you're going to lose your job. If you're not careful, if you don't know where you are, if you don't watch your back, if you don't cover your back, if you don't build a MGTOW support network, how are you going to do that? Well, the only way you're going to do that is online. So I guess you're going to have to go over and, buy the products, buy the course. Yeah, I hope you recognize that's also what's going on. That's your Redpill life coach for you. That's your sponsored MGTOW message for you. MGTOW is not a sponsored message. MGTOW is an independent message. And it's definitely independent of, a gynocentric world and a gynocentric influence. But, it's all up to you. It's all in your hands. It's your life. And this is just advice, you do whatever you want. And I recognize that it's really quite difficult. You know what I mean? Like nobody jumps off of a moving train until it's pretty much right at the bridge. You know what I mean? Like, no, you just don't do it. You don't jump out of a moving car unless that car really is going over the cliff, So no matter how bad things get in your life, you're not going to take those chances. You're not going to make those steps until you absolutely have to. And that probably won't happen until your mid-30s. It'll just start approaching faster and faster. And you can get by on your age. When you're young, you can stay in pretty good shape pretty easily, even if you treat yourself pretty badly. But eventually, no, you cannot continue to do that. So if you've got that mental attitude, which allows you to, consider yourself disposable as a man, and you're okay with that, understand it can only last for X number of years. You have to stop doing it eventually. Otherwise, you will destroy yourselves. This is why you can see people, guys in their 40s, and they act like they're old, and they are, and they're crippled, and they can't walk, and their knees are bad, and their hips are bad, right? Really sad. It's an interesting situation, isn't it? The more successful the man is, the more likely he is to remain on that blue pill course. So, you reach this critical stage at around 50 where either you've been successful enough in a blue pill world that you're going to continue with a blue pill life, or you've been screwed over by the blue pill world enough and you're willing to admit it. You come to your real red pill realization and you accept the responsibility for it. Now, you can do it earlier and younger, but like I said, nobody wants to jump off of the train until it's, getting ready to go off of the bridge. You can't blame them. But that is your situation. And it's approaching, and you get compromised psychologically, mentally, That's what happens as well. The system beats the man down by denying the man finances, by denying the man affection, by denying the man friendships with other men, because, you can't learn now. You're in constant competition with everybody. So you can't really build up and get ahead. The man is kept at this controllable, weak state. And the women and the institutions, school, education, the boss, the media, the government, the law enforcement agencies, they can control that man. He's weak. He's unsure. He's alone. But another type of man, even a stupid man who's got the group behind him, who's part of, a group of refugees, and, they're dumb as dirt, and they'll say, if you don't let our guy go, we are going to start burning all of the local businesses in the neighborhood. And the cops are like, but your boy is guilty. According to our laws, we've got to hold him and we know that he's guilty. And they're like, yeah, we know that too. And we don't care, because if you keep him, we're going to cause $5 million worth of damage in your district right here at the local police station. But if you let our boy go, we won't riot. We won't burn down $5 million worth of your local businesses. And you know what the local police do? They say, all right, we'll let him go. But if you get arrested for jaywalking, if you get arrested for using your cell phone outside of a courtroom when there's an injunction against you, you're going to jail for months without a trial. They don't even need to. So you've got to get your shit together. You've got to figure out what's going on. You've got to get ready for this stuff. Oh, you don't have to. You could watch Star Wars movies. You could play games. And, some of that, sure, you should. Right? But you should also be making yourself ready and strong for when you're not allowed to have a job and you have to be an entrepreneur. This is just my advice, okay? You're like a bird and they're asking you to rip your own wings off so that you can check your male privilege and be part of their group, okay? But they don't want you as part of their group. You're not part of their group. You can have a sex change operation. You can identify as being trans. You can dye your hair purple. You can take the hormones. You can get yourself, operated on. But you're still not part of their group. You're still not a woman. And yet they've raised the boys to think that they're part of the group. It's very sad. It's very sad. And, they're punishing the boys just for being boys. And the opportunities for the men to have a decent life are being taken away. The rug is being pulled out from under them because they're being accused of all kinds of misconduct. And the men think that they're women. They adopt that mindset. It's like, well, you got to take care of me. It's like, well, that's not fair. It's like, but nobody likes me. It's like, yeah, that's right. It's not fair. Nobody likes you, and nobody has to take care of you. Nobody is looking at a man and thinking to themselves, wow, he's really handsome. I'll take him home and just let him have food and let him live in my house. Nobody looks at you that way. So the idea that men and women are the same is retarded. But the young man, he doesn't know that. So he's like, I'm going to screw over Howard Dare. I don't like Howard Dare, So there you go. All right. Well, I just wanted to, come on here and try to offer you guys a message, something hopeful. Let's see. Did I make a mistake by letting Alex Jones continue to talk? I hate it when people just try to, yeah, I made a mistake. Yeah. Oh, well. So you had your free speech, bro. You were here, but you acted like a dick. You acted like you were smarter than everybody else. You took cheap shots at everybody else. Can't have it. Don't want it. Hey, Observing Libertarian, thanks for stopping by. Did I just, did I make a mistake by cutting his voice? Because I don't have time to go through everything that everyone says. Free helicopter rides for communists. Yeah, exactly. Well, they want free stuff, And I'm sure the state will take care of them, no matter what the situation is. Right, but that's the whole Yuri Brezhnev, message with they're useful idiots. The state, the ideology is using them and playing them. The social justice warriors, the Antifa. And, they won't understand it until they're strapped down in a chair and someone's kicking them in the balls. And even then they're going to argue against it. They actually think that, they're part of the revolution. Right. And this happens in all the leftist revolutions. Okay. Take a look at communist China in the 60s, right? Yeah. It's not, you don't even have to go back very far. Those lower level people who overturned the establishment. Do you know what happened to those people? They were not high ranking members of the party. They were sent off to the work camps. They were nobody. They were nothing. So all these local villages, the kids, the young kids, the 15, 16-year-old kids were the ones who were told to tear down the existing structure there in China. And it was going to be replaced with, the glorious Communist Party. And they did. And it was brutal. This was like gangs of high school kids taking the teachers and the business owners of the community out into the streets and, beating them to death and then taking their property because they had property, because they were older. But those kids, they were not treated with any respect or dignity. They were simply shuffled off to a work camp. So yeah. The feminists themselves, they're useful, they're being played. They betrayed their own people for people who don't have their interests at heart. It's horrible. It's tragic. You know what I mean? It really is like a group of coyotes coming over to, like a poodle. And saying, hey, come on, man, open up the gate. Let's play. Right? And the poodle is like, yeah, we're all dogs. And the coyotes are like, yeah, we're all dogs. Open up the gate. The poodle opens up the gate and the coyotes eat it. Right? It's like, the women who are like, refugees welcome, and then they're the ones who are getting assaulted. Man, and there's a lot of that over in Europe. Just like this really feminine, disgusting, socialist, peace and love, and everybody should be taken care of, and I have compassion for everybody in the world as long as it's not my money that they're taking, and then those very people just being brutalized and savaged by the very people that they opened the doors and opened the gates to. You know what I mean? Totally. But in most cases, the women who promote this, sort of cultural Marxist attitude, they don't pay the price. They certainly don't pay the price in taxes, and in opportunity. They certainly don't pay it emotionally and psychologically. That's the men who bear all of that. And it's the undercutting of the values and the system that sustains the men, right? So it's not just like you as an individual man are being destroyed, although you are. I guess that's not a big deal, though, because, you can see a nice movie. It's that the entire structure that supports any man is being destroyed. So, yeah, it is you, and you care about you. But it's your son, too, or it's, the son that you never had. And it's all of the men. Right? Picture a boot stepping on the face of man until the end of time. And that's your flag. You know what I mean? That's the real image that's on your flag that's flying over your country right now. It's a woman's boot stepping on the face of a man. That's what we do. That's what the West has become. And it's for all the Western countries. And it's people within a democracy voting against the interests of the people within the democracy, but to their own personal advantage. Ta-da! That's what you're looking at. And they won't stop. And that's the system that we support, that we build up. So I just thought that was important to put out there. Let's see. Was I crowdfund helicopter runs for communists? No one cares. Okay. Howard Dare is awesome. I agree. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's not forget that, everybody. Super chat coming through from Hombre in Guantanamo. He says, eat meat, don't be a vegan. Veganism is death, a death sentence in the long run. P.S. Thanks, Howard Dare. Hope you appreciate the tip. I sure do, Hombre. It'll allow me to, stay online and do a couple more things that I'd like to do, make a couple nice more thumbnails and maybe try a couple things with some video in the upcoming days. So, yeah, I really, really do appreciate it. It makes a big difference, too, here at the Howard Dare channel because we're under attack. We're under constant attack. The Manipulated Man by Esther Villa, right? Yeah, it's a great book. I'm reading that from the chat. So what the hell was I talking about? So I hope I wasn't too harsh in, cutting out the guy's voice, but I hate people who make a mockery of other people. You know what I mean? Like, that's a real low blow, especially when they're, like, not able to defend themselves. I don't like it when people attack other people's reputations. I don't like it when people attack other people's motives. Do you know what I mean? I judge people by what they do, not by what other people say about them and things like that. And when I see people engaging in that type of, behavior, I find it really contemptible. I don't join in. I'm not like, wow, that's really cool. Now, if the target is a really worthy target, like someone like Maxine Waters, right? It's like, well, she's got some of it coming, but no, I don't believe that the ends justify the means. I believe that I believe how you play the game, I believe it does matter. Of course, I'm changing my mind on that, right? The worse things get, the more likely I am to, throw away those principles. So, how are we doing on likes and shares? I'll bet you we have no shares. I'll bet you that maybe only 2 or 3 people have liked the video. I try too hard, man. I really do. I should just chill out, not give a fuck. That way, things would be a lot better. I wonder how the quality of my sound is. I can only test it. Well, you know what I'm going to do? Screw it, you guys. Screw it. I don't care. I'm going to monitor that maybe only 2 or 3 people have liked the video. I try too hard, man. I really do. I'm just listening. I should just chill out, not give a fuck. That way, things would be a lot better. I wonder how the quality of my sound is. I can only test it. Well, you know what I'm going to do? Screw it, you guys. Likes. Screw it. Jumped up from 18 to 23. I'm going to monitor that maybe only 2 or 3 people have liked the video. I try too hard, man. I really do. Audience. I'm just listening. I should just chill out, not give a fuck. That way, things are... Now I'm echoing on the echo. That's pretty cool. No, it sounds pretty good, although I can't really judge the levels. Now I'm going to bring in some music. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I've got some new music for you guys. Check this one out. I'd like to use, Food and Water music. Go over there and check out his channel. Where's that music? Okay. Let's try. That'll work well for the opening of a video. I'm sure I've used it before in the opening of a video. So I'm just hanging around. I've decided I don't care anymore. I've decided that I care too much. That I need to just chill out. It's Friday night. I made it. You made it. We didn't all make it, though. Some of us got destroyed by the week, the work week. It was too hard. It was too demanding. Maybe some bitch falsely accused you. That can ruin your life. It really can. Pretty much ruined my life. Like a false accusation at work. Pretty much just destroyed my career and everything. And it was just for some stupid, foolish little girl that, that herself was, just being stupid and foolish. And I don't see how I could have dealt with it any better or any differently than I did. Right? So it's like, okay, here's, your average to, slightly above average intelligence guy working in the computer industry in his early 30s. And here's like a 20-year-old receptionist who barely even has a high school, education. And she's using her sexuality. She's flirting. She's, approaching people sexually at the office, right? And I'm like non-responsive because I'm like new at the job, right? and she gets like all offended, you know what I mean? Because I'm not like jumping on her like my first week there at work. Right, and it's a decently paying job, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not inclined. Like, I'd rather not jump on the 20-year-old, get my paycheck, have the money, and then go out and jump on some other 20-year-old. You know what I mean? I'd much rather do that, right? But she's like, you know, I'm a 20-year-old girl and everybody wants to get together with me. What's the matter with you? And I'm like, you know, I just want to get paid. So before I know it, she's talking to, you know, the manager, and the manager is then calling me in and saying, you know, it's going down on your record that you were, you know, in some way sexually inappropriate with this girl. And it's like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, everybody in the office knew what she was doing, because she wasn't only doing it with me, she was doing it with everybody. You know, she was throwing her sexuality around. And I was like, that's retarded. That's unfair. You can't do that. And the guy was like, well, I'm a big fat slob and I want to sleep with her, so I'm going to do whatever she asks me to do. And it's like, fine, you know, I quit. So that's what happened to me, you know, so that pretty much wiped out my tech career, because, you know, it was just like in this area. So I could only be applying to other companies in the area, and they would have to constantly refer back to this place that I was at, but I was only there for about 3 or 4 weeks, you know. And it would be like, well, what happened there? And it was like, well, he was accused of inappropriate sexual conduct with, you know, with a female employee. And it's like, no, I never did anything like that. You know what I mean? I actually did quite the opposite. I was pursued, and I just kept kind of like turning a blind eye to it until finally I was like, you know, I don't want anything to do with you. And then, boom, you know, that's where my trouble started. So, you know, you can get in trouble for not sleeping with the girl is what it comes down to. You know, I've often looked back on that and thought to myself, maybe I should have just slept with her, right? But she was a tramp, man. You know, and that's another part of the thing. It's like everybody in the office knew that she was throwing her sexuality around. Like, she was coming into the office and talking about like what she did on her dates the night before and things like that, and, you know, how loose she was and things like that. And it wasn't even necessarily real. It was just a young girl talking. You know what I mean? It was just the way that a 20-year-old foolish girl interacts at the office sometimes when she's not the smartest. And she's kind of loose. But no, that blew up right in my face. And like I said, I didn't do anything wrong. I certainly didn't. You know, I failed to recognize the situation and shut it down and distance myself from it early enough. You know, so I really had no choice but to go my own way, because I couldn't do what I was trained to do. At least not, you know, like in a job employee sort of way. And I didn't feel like it either. You know what I mean? It's messed up to know that some idiot can falsely accuse you and you can lose everything. Excuse me. You know what I mean? It's like, how motivated was I to get back into that situation? I wasn't at all. I was like, I don't want to work in another office where some woman can just, you know, start demanding shit of me and telling me to get her stuff at lunch and, you know, ask me to do things for her. And then when I don't, she like falsely accuses me and I lose my job and my reputation. So it's like, no, I don't want to be involved with that. No, thanks. Like, not a good idea. It was like skating on thin ice, you know? Holding down a nice job, you know, in an important, meaningful technical field, it's difficult enough. The idea that you now have to contend with every foolish female that gets her feelings hurt, it's impossible. It's impossible. So good luck with that. Like, the only reason why you're going to get away with that is because you're like in your early to mid 20s and you're really agreeable and people still kind of like you because you're young. right? But as soon as that's gone, forget it. Unless you become a completely broken kind of man, like just kind of like a Manitou, like just a big fat, obese, kind of womanish, diabetic man. Unless you become that, then nobody will see you as a threat, right? And the women will be able to play you. They'll have you in the palm of their hand. Like you'll be real happy when someone brings donuts to the office. Be that kind of a man. Unless you want to become that kind of a man. And that's what most of them become. But not when they come on and they make a YouTube video and they want to sell you their, Redpill life coach, course. No, then they're super cool. So that's pretty pathetic. All right. Anything you guys want to say before I close this one out? I appreciate people coming and hanging out, but I guess I just completely suck at this. Hey, Paul, thanks for stopping by. How's it going, man? I wish I had dared if I had thought I could win. Never is confident enough to risk much. No, I feel the same way, Paul. And I think it's intentional. You know what I mean? I think it was the right move. It's like, they talk about failure to launch, right? Like a book was written a while ago implying that the men aren't taking off, and building their lives, getting together with women and building families, failure to take off. And, it was one of Men's Rights or somebody said, no, it's a failure of a place to land. You know what I mean? The men are smart to not take off because there's no place to land. And it's true. So no, we don't take the chances when we know that it's probably not going to work out. Like if a man can't make enough money to support a family, a smart man doesn't build a family. But a man from the third world, he has 9 kids and he comes to the first world and he expects men like you and I to pay for him and his kids. So we're actually in a situation, I was listening to a different live stream. They were talking about life over there in the UK. The migrants, the refugees that are coming to the UK are getting free housing, free medical, free food, free clothing, free public services, bus rides, things like that. The local citizens are paying everything in taxes to take care of refugees that their government is bringing into their government that hate their guts and attack them in the streets and attack their children. How motivated is that man going to be? Thanks, ladies. Thanks, feminism. So if they say they're out for equality, they're not out for equality. Not at all. When they say they're out to, look after the suffering of women, they're not out to look after the suffering of women. Not at all. They're out there to find fault with you and to destroy everything that you have and everything that, you might become. And they're going to accuse you of every dirty trick in the book because you're literally Hitler and Genghis Khan and you've literally oppressed them for thousands of years. And so some fat, out-of-shape, purple-haired woman from the other side of the world, is getting taken care of with your tax dollars, with your infrastructure, with your manufacturing jobs. And you don't have enough to even have insurance. But you certainly, have to pay for other people to have their insurance. So I hope you appreciate what the situation is and how you have to go your own way, and that the men that are giving you this advice to be cool, man, and to introduce them to your sister, man. And they've just got a great life, man. And you can talk to them for $150 an hour or $500 an hour. You just buy their course, man. That it's bullshit. I hope you recognize that. I don't see how a young man could. I really don't. It's like a guy who goes to the gym and he never works out. He's there, 3 times a week, but he never lifts anything. And, he talks to other guys in the gym and he's like, well, let me tell you about how to do this lift. Let me tell you about how to do that. Oh, what you need to do with this machine and blah, blah, blah. And he looks like shit, but But he's talking to all these people, right? And you're there, you're just going there every fucking day, and you're just keeping your head down and you're just working out. Super chat coming through. Thank you, Linux. I appreciate it. Also known as the Big Evil. That's a great one. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the super chat. So there you are working out every day, just, doing your stuff. And this like retarded old guy who can't even he's got whiskers and he's wearing a fucking headband and he looks like Richard Simmons, and he's there and he's talking with these other fat, sweaty old people that won't work out, and he's chatting up the young girls and he's standing there in front of the machine that he's not even using that you need to get to, like the incline bench press machine. Right? And he's standing there leaning on it, sweating all over it, even though the guy hasn't worked out in a month. Right? But he's there telling people about how to use the equipment. Meanwhile, you're maxed out on all the fucking machines. You know what I mean? You're like fucking doing your hulking experiment on that shit. Because you can do it. Right? Once you figure out what's going on and you figure out that if you don't have to control that weight and how much force you can put into the initial lift of that weight, and once you know from other types of training how hard, high intensity training, how hard you can hit yourself right at the first spot without snapping anything, you're able to put 600 pounds on that fucking machine and you're able to press it out 3 or 4 times. Right? Meanwhile, that guy's leaning over there sweating on things, wearing his funny sockless shoes and shit. It's like, gee, I wonder how many diseases have been in there for the last 20 years. Right? And meanwhile, the guy's fucking giving advice and hitting up on the women, and it's disgusting. And he's sweating all over the machine that you need to get to, that he can never use. You want to take advice from that guy? Don't take advice from that guy. Watch what a guy like me, watch what a guy who's really fit and strong is doing. Watch how he's doing it. And then imitate that. Try to figure out why he's doing what he's doing the way he's doing it. Try to figure out how he got to where he got to. And it took time, you know what I mean? And it took consistency over time. And it took all those little things that you don't want to do. We become very articulate as we become older. We become able to control our muscles in very fine, precise manners. And, a baby isn't like that. A baby is crude. It can barely, stumble around. A big puppy is clumsy, The young man is a little off balance here and there. But you can get to a stage with age, with experience, where you can demonstrate real mastery over the things that you're doing. And you kind of need to get to that stage. Otherwise, you'll degrade and you'll become like a fat boy. So, be true to yourself. Don't compromise yourself. You know the right things to do. You know the right people to hang around with. You know the right attitude to have. You know that you can do almost anything you want in this world. Nobody's stopping you. Conditions might be difficult, but if you set your mind to becoming a brain surgeon, well, in the next 10 years, I'll bet you could become a brain surgeon, assuming that you're smart enough to actually do it. So anything you want, you can do. You can't, sprout wings and fly to the moon. You can't necessarily, become a great football player, unless you're big enough and young enough. I mean, you might be able to. I don't really know. But within reason, your life is what you make it. And you've got a world around you that wants to turn you into a sacrificial animal, that actually wants to crucify you, that actually will crucify you, will actually compel you to crucify yourself. And they still won't love you. They still won't, admire and respect you. You have to supply those things for yourself. And how are you going to do that? If you follow the crowd, you're not going to be able to do that. You have to find out what's important to you in your own life. Look, that's the message. It's the same message. It's always been the same message. Okay, and it is a MGTOW message. It is a message about individual freedom. Is there value to be had in the group? Sure there is, absolutely. Of course there is. But you can't compromise your individual rights, your individual personality. Super chat coming through. Diamond Boxley. Well, that's a nice name. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the support. Even the dollar. I've got people who support me over on Patreon for $1 a month. And it's like, well, I'm saving up to get a cup of coffee. After about 5 or 6 months, I'll be able to get a cup of coffee. So I like, so I appreciate all the support. It's very encouraging, even when it's not a whole bunch. I know that it's a big deal for people to do something like that. And as I said, I'm only looking for, 4 or 5 people out of 100, who are willing, who are in a position to say, yeah, here's $5 or $10. I appreciate it, or here's $20. Here's $50, right? So, like I said, I'm only looking for 4 or 5 people who are willing to do that, so that's all I need. Could you imagine if everybody that was subscribed to my channel gave me $1 every month? That'd be over $50,000 a month. And it's only $1, right? It really is. I'm sure that half of them could do it without any problem. It wouldn't mean anything to them. And imagine how much money that would mean. To me. I tell you, I need to be a female Twitch gamer. I really do. I'm thinking about developing a virtual female character, and animating her and let her pretend to be like a Twitch gamer, so that whenever anybody gives me a nice super chat or something like that, she bends over and shows her bosom, shows her boobs, but not completely. Because that's really all that the girls do. You know what I mean? There's a lot of really successful females online, and that's pretty much all they're doing. So I figure I should be able to get an animated girl to do that for me. It should have pretty much the same effect. Get this to be like a Twitch gaming girls stream. Where she's just always wearing a really low-cut dress, and she's pretending like she doesn't know that she's wearing a really low-cut dress. You know what I mean? That's hysterical. Sometimes YouTube forgets who I'm subscribed to. I adopted the new format, and I click on my subscriptions, and it just sends me to a generic page to people that it wants me to subscribe to, and it's all a bunch of young women, okay, that they're just pretty. I mean, they've got nothing going on, but they are pretty. And I'm sure they're quite, friendly in a female kind of way of you have to take care of me, for the rest of my life because I'm pretty. And if you don't, you're a bad man. And, you deserve to have your rights taken away from you. Because everybody, we just want equality. So they all look like that. And then they have some comedy ones that they want me to go check out, which have the weakest and the most gay men that you could possibly imagine. You know what I mean? It's like men with earrings, men wearing makeups that are, makeup that are telling jokes and shit. And, not all of them, but pretty much 75% of the men are comedians that are complete sellouts. They're just total tools, you know what I mean, to the system. But there's a few that probably look like they're, their own person and have their own things to say, but probably only about 10 or 15%. The rest is all status quo establishment, women, feminists. So that's what they want you to subscribe to. Let's see what's going on in the chat. First time for everything. Yes, there is, and it's a good thing too. Just looking through the chat a little bit. On the channel, anesthesiologist. No, that's not what it says. It says anesthesiological. Sometimes I just think I see one word and I just read it wrong. I'm not reading that. Okay, Observing Libertarian says, Howard Dare, feminists can talk to me about equality when they stop writing, advocating for, and lobbying for double standard laws which provide women legal rights and protections denied to men. Yeah, well, it's pathetic. It's an act. You know that. I know that they're just being critical and finding fault with the system all around them, and then, casting aspersions on everybody in power, the men around them. And, it's a giant sympathy. It's a giant power. It's a giant resource grab. And, it's disgusting. And men have more honor than that. It'd be like, well, these men from this country, local men who want to follow the laws and be part of the hierarchy within the system that they're in. They don't want free welfare. They don't want to be taken care of. They recognize. But the men outside of the system, no, they're like, they just want whatever they can get as much as they can get. They just want to get while the getting's good. So they don't understand the principles of individual rights. They don't understand the institutions that enable this type of, a civilization to exist. They just want the resources. So that's what we have to contend with. And, that's what they want you to become. And you are much more than that as a man. You are like one of the founding fathers. You are all descendants from Genghis Khan, right? So yeah, you're literally Genghis Khan. It's like, well, in a way you are. You are literally Alexander the Great, 100 generations removed. And maybe some of you are thinking, no, not my dad. It's like, yeah, your dad. Definitely. Maybe not Alexander the Great directly, but he had his day. He was number one, I assure you. And that's the thing. So are you. A man is king in his own castle. You are your own alpha in all of heaven and all the earth. You and you alone are the most greatly honored one. And that's the way it has to be for every individual. Lest you're a dog, lest you're a slave, lest you're a sacrificial animal, lest you're just an animal, But if you're a man, oh no. If you're a human being, oh no. You have the potential to be, the one. I assure you, when they make The Matrix, the movie, and they're saying who's the one, it's you. You are the one. When they make the movie and they're saying, here's the main character that we want everybody to identify with, it's like, well, then we better make it someone that they can identify with. And it's like, okay, well, now we're going to make it a 5'2" girl that's 90 pounds who beats the shit out of everybody and doesn't need anybody. And she's a master swordsman from the start. It's like bullshit. I don't even want to see that story. You know what I mean? That's disgusting. You can't do that with a boy. You can't say, here's a boy. He doesn't know anything about the ways of the Force. Now they're going to teach him about the ways of the Force, and now he's an expert swordsman. Bullshit. He's a clumsy, awkward, stupid swordsman. He's afraid. He can't do things right. He can't throw the ball. He doesn't pick up. You remember the first time you tried to throw a baseball? Yeah, that's a rude awakening for most boys, isn't it? That's a rude awakening for everybody, I think. It's like, yeah, I've seen him throw a baseball 100 times on television. I'm just going to wind up like I'm a pitcher on the mound, and I'm just going to, cock that ball back, and I'm just going to let it rip. And it's like, nope, it doesn't work that way when you first try to do it. You first try to do it, and you're a little kid. You take that ball, you hold it in the palm, and then you go for your wind up, and you go to release it, and it falls over your backside, and you feel like you're retarded, like you can't even throw the ball, and you can't. Your body has to learn how to do it, but not a woman's body. She just knows how to do these things. Hey, there's actually a little bit of truth there, right? Yeah. Like she knows, yeah. Yeah, the one thing that she does better than anything else, yeah, she doesn't really have to study for that at all. You're thinking, oh, I guess it's the same for the man. No, for the man, it's knowing how to fight. It's not knowing how to give birth and how to have sex. It's knowing how to fight, how to compete. So that should give the women pause. You know what I mean? Like nobody knows how to throw a baseball. Nobody knows how to throw a punch. You have to coordinate it. You have to learn how to do it. but all babies know how to cry. And even if you didn't teach them, I would suggest that all women know how to, give birth. And you would think, all men know how to, have sex. It's like, no, all men know how to fight. And, I hope you recognize that as a man, right? That's your skill. It's not resources, it's fighting. And her skill is birthing. And if you take a look throughout the animal kingdom, you'll see it's the same trade-off. We call it resources. We call it, sexual access. But at the most base level, it's sex and aggression. And it's aggression for a very good reason. It's aggression so that you can defend yourself, so that you can acquire resources, so that you can stake out territory, so that the females that you do get together with are not threatened. And of course, it's tied to masculinity. So this is why fighting and aggression is very much a part of our nature. Like, you wouldn't necessarily want to take it out of the male nature. And there's a few stories. Clockwork Orange, that's pretty much the main theme of Clockwork Orange. Well, that's not really the main theme, but it is taking away the choice. And then there's the Star Trek episode where Kirk, gets his personality split in two. That's a good one. I've been thinking that I'm going to do videos where I analyze old Star Trek episodes. And the reason is because we were allowed to say things in stories in the 60s. We had freedom of speech. You could not say the things that they said on the early Star Trek episodes today without getting censored. Look at the episode where the woman, that I was talking about, this one, where they developed this psychological device that can help people. But if it's turned up too high, it can switch a person's personality. It can actually take a person's personality out of their body and they get replaced with another person's personality. And this woman who's envious of Kirk because he's a man and he's a starship captain and he commands respect, and he has all this power and authority. She wants that. She thinks that she deserves that. So she switches bodies with him, and she becomes a nervous wreck. You know what I mean? Of course, she doesn't have the psychological tools to deal with the situation. Of course, we're not the same. But then when Kirk gets put into her female body, he becomes a little indecisive. You know what I mean? He does start to doubt himself. And so, there are some characteristics that you would just plain old pick up, but not the fundamental basic psychological ones. Like, the experiment of the woman who, actually lived as a man for like 6 weeks and she went nearly crazy. She nearly went insane. She had to stop, because it's horrible. And she did it for real. Like, the people around her didn't know that she wasn't male. So they treated her like, just a weird kind of man. And yeah, after 5 or 6 weeks of that, she was like, this is horrible. I can't do this anymore. And no, I would not recommend any woman even try to do that. I would not recommend it at all. It is horrible. And if I had a son, it would be like, well, I'm sorry, you're in for a bit of a lonely ride. There's going to be a lot of time when it feels like the whole world is against you. Like no woman is on your side, no group is on your side, none of the other men are on your side. And no matter what you do, and no matter how good you are, everybody's just trying to step on you and take shots at you. Like, well, welcome to being a man. That's part of it. So that's the women generally don't have to deal with that. Yeah, women don't have it so easy either. There's good reasons for women to be afraid of men, right? Like a chance encounter that a woman has with a man and she's pregnant and her life is destroyed. Chance encounter that a man has with a woman, he has an orgasm and it's one of the best days of his life and it means nothing. So there's reasons why, there are these imbalances, but now we've taken it way too far. And with democracy, we've empowered, this kind of madness. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that for now. I went on for too long. Let me know what you think about this. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the shares. I don't know why there were so few people, though, and only 30 likes. Oh, Carly Ellison has blessed us with her presence. So there you go. Yeah. Just kills the motivation, you know? Just kills motivation. That's me complaining. But the situation for the men, it really is depressing. It really is hard. You're going to have to go your own way. You're going to have to find your own way. And I wish you luck, and I'm going to give you some advice and some tips along the way. I'm going to tell you some of the things that worked for me. I'm going to tell you some of the things that didn't work for me. I'm going to offer you some encouragement on a regular basis. I'm going to demonstrate to you, the things that I do and my commitment to these important issues and these important principles. And hopefully you'll be able to take strength and take these arguments. Take my arguments, any one of them that you like, and restate it in your own words, because it's not my arguments. These are not my arguments. These are philosophical arguments, mostly from Ayn Rand and objectivism, from a woman, right? So there you go. So you can take anything that you hear me say and you can expand upon it. You can make a video about it. You can talk about it. You can offer your interpretation of it, because it's not mine, because I took it from someone else, right? So hopefully that's another way that, us interacting can be helpful and beneficial to you. So take whatever you need, take whatever you want. It's pretty much all free. I'll continue to provide, until I can't any longer. So let me know what you think about it in the comments section below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate, and join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, everyone.